Hello, all, and welcome to another Rising Tide Talk. I am Clay Powell, a game designer, but more importantly, your substitute teacher this week. And today we are talking about the ins and outs of professional game mastering. To make that possible, we'll be joined by someone who is not just a professional game master, but the founder of a new TTRPG professional play marketplace called Arcane Circle. Far better than rolling the TV cart into the classroom, please welcome Mike Ortiz.
That's an incredible intro. I was taken right back to grade school. Hello, hi. It is incredible being here. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. I was not part of the decision-making process at all, but I will take the thank you either way. And I did find out something interesting just a bit ago. I believe that a few months back we were in the same room and didn't even know it at MysticCon.
Oh, of course. I was like, it was one of a few other cons that I've been to this year. I'm assuming it was more than likely the Creators Assemble networking event.
I was tabling, so I was mostly stuck in one room. But either way, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about.
We could reminisce, but not right now.
Yeah, that's for after the chat. So, pro GMing is something that many folks in our community likely have the talent and skill to take on, but might not have made the plunge yet. So today, Mike is going to cover a number of questions from 3 categories: getting started as a pro GM, advice for maintaining momentum, and then tools and resources that you might find useful. To anyone joining us live from the Rising Tide Discord server, please share any questions you have in the RT Discussions text chat. And to start off, let's get some clarity. A pro game master is someone who charges a fee for players to join their games. Usually the promise or hope is that you're paying for a high quality or high production value game of some sort, but that is the basic concept. Am I good so far, Mike?
You've pretty much hit the nail. That is usually the expectation when it comes to paid games.
Perfect. Well, since we both understand this so well clearly, we'll go ahead and get right into the questions. So starting with the beginner advice. For anyone considering becoming a pro GM, what is the bare minimum checklist to get started?
I usually have this. It's not like a physical list, something you could really pull out and say that if you hit these check marks, you are instantly eligible to be a professional GM. I think it's really hard to say so because everyone has different ways of storytelling. Some people really like combat, they like the war games. Some people really like role play, and depending on the story that you're willing to tell, it really the way I like to flavor it, or the way I like to sort of describe it, is that if you can make your party feel a raw emotion, then you are more than likely eligible, or what you could say to be eligible, to be a professional GM. If you've ever made your party celebrate for killing a red dragon, you made them feel something. If there was an NPC that unfortunately died during an event, cataclysmic event, and everyone felt sad, you made your party feel sad. We all play tabletop role-playing games so we can experience something beyond normalcy. And so, yeah, it's not that you have to hit certain points to be considered professional. I will say, so long as you can tell a story that invokes emotion, I think you are well enough on the track to do this professionally.
Makes sense to me. However, we do want to get into some specifics that people may be asking after that helpful answer for starting off. I think one thing to get right off the bat is, what is the most important difference or differences between running a game for your friends versus running a game professional?
Yeah, in most cases, when you're running games professionally, especially with the platforms, including Arcane Circle out there, is that you are running it for either acquaintances or you're running it for strangers online. Keeping that idea in mind, when you run a game, like your question, what's the difference between that for running games for friends or for a home game? You kind of know each other. Usually there's already some sort of camaraderie. There's already kind of some understanding, friendship that's already been bonded there. And you're given a lot more leeway with what you could say. There's a lot more internal jokes. You know each other well enough where you can understand limitations. So you're kind of given a little bit more freedom with home games. Not to say that that can't blossom from paid games, but generally for starting out, especially for paid games, you kind of want to lay the ground rules a little bit more clearly. You want to showcase safety tools, a little bit more prominently, and you want to start easing into it without having to go, well, now you know all my inside jokes. It's like you don't build relationships that way. with an immediate start.
In session 0, we go over all of my inside jokes so that you think I'm funny, and then from
Yeah.
there.
And now we're all cool with each other. No, it's very much laying the foundation, taking things slow, and people, when it comes to paid games, some people are looking for that. They're looking for this sort of experience where they know the table's going to be safe because everything's been laid out. I'll say that's sort of the main difference when it comes to feeling between the two. One's a little bit more lax. There's already established, familiarity. The other one is you're slowly building it up and ensuring that there are tools to ensure that slowly you can blossom to that original feeling you would have for a home game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sure from both the actual game mastering angle and the establishing it as a business practice angle, it's about establishing expectations that you can actually fulfill so that people who are signing up are excited about the thing that you're going to end up doing.
Professional GMing is so cool. It is from my understanding, the only profession where it does start off where you're starting to get to know each other. And it's very much of finding each other's boundaries and learning about them. And eventually it grows into an experience where you're just like hanging out with friends. It's the only profession I can come up with right away where the end goal is making more friends. It's pretty
That's a good
wild
way to put it.
Yeah.
Very cool. Continuing with just kind of these little specific questions for someone wondering about getting their toes wet here. Are there any unexpectedly important things you wish you had sorted out before starting to pro GM?
Yes. When I started to do pro GMing at the very first, I was very hesitant. And I think most people who are considering pro GM, doing professional GMing, they're going to be kind of hesitant in the same value of, do I only do one shots? Is this how I test the waters? I'm only going to run a one shot. I'm not really comfortable doing this for a party of people for every week, for a full campaign. I really wish that when I first started out that I just jumped into the deep end and started to do a weekly campaign with people. I would have made, in terms of financial, I would have made more money, obviously, been able to support myself a lot earlier. And I probably would have made a lot more connections sooner than I did. When I was doing one shots, it was very much a fleeting experience where people would jump in, they'd have fun, they would stay in the Discord, but then they would just sort of go off and find a campaign. Because people, from my understanding, most individuals are looking for like a long-term experience. And statistically, when we look at that, especially for Arcane Circle, when I was building it, of finding the weight between one shots and campaigns and limited series, where that goes. And usually most people are they're itching to go into a long form campaign. I really wish that I jumped into that sooner, but it allowed me to express myself through one shots. And that was fun as well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. I mean, even just from a return customer angle, the people playing one shots are signing up to do it once versus a campaign. It's like these are people who want to return, which is always a nice way to establish a kind of foundation for what you're doing. And the talk about campaigns versus one shots leads me into another question that I had, which are there systems that game systems that lend themselves better or worse to pro GMing in your opinion?
I would say so. Systems that are built for long-term play, Dungeons and Dragons, Staggerheart, Blades in the Dark. We can go on and on. Fabula Ultima, continue it on. Those are very much built for professional GMing, where you can get a party together, have them experience something through multiple months or multiple years, depending on how the length of your campaign is going to be. That sits very well within a professional stance. One, it allows your players to understand that they're going to get a professional experience or a well-curated story, as well as on the GM side, when it comes to finances, ensure that you do have sort of a weekly income coming in, which is nice. There are games out there like Alice is Missing and The Last Tea Shop, where there are like these like more indie, Alice is Missing a little bit less indie, but there are these other systems that are built for one shots. From what I've seen is that they are very fun to play. I played in Alice is Missing. It's very fun, but it's very hard to garner attention. It is, I think these systems definitely need a lot more attention before they become, I would say, worth your effort and time at the moment. I wish they were. I wish they really were. But right now, it's going to be very difficult for you to find a party for Alice is Missing.
Yeah, and that kind of tracks. I mean, I imagine the person in my head who's trying to play Alice is Missing or something like that probably already has a group or some sort of social circle that is into these games and can kind of do that with, versus if you're trying to get your first chance to play D&D, it's probably because you don't have friends who are doing it already.
That's actually on point. That's a really good sort of a idea to bring out, is that generally most of these games that we're seeing, sort of these more indie systems, are being ran by an established party that found themselves from a ongoing campaign. I'm kind of guilty of it myself, where I wanted to run a custom system that I built with my party, and I went, "Hey, we've been playing for 2 years. Are you fine with doing a quick one shot just with this new system I built?" And everyone said yes. I don't think I would have ever gotten anyone if I would have just sort of post online saying I have openings. Yeah, I think that's it's a great sort of add-on for those who are curious how to run these particular systems. Is you may want to establish something first before you start to introduce something new.
That makes a lot of sense. Perfect. Well, I think to close out the kind of getting started section, something that I'd like to tee you up for is obviously part of why you're here is to talk about Arcane Circle. Is there anything that sticks out to you that Arcane Circle helps with these beginner challenges?
Yes. So when I was building Arcane Circle, it started off so innocently. I was part of a paid GMing ecosystem, running, multiple platforms at once just to sort of run my games, taking notes, VTT, music, all whatever you would want to add in to just ensure that the enhancement was there. And it started very innocently, where I was on Chrome and I was like, you know what? I've read enough. And I'm part of a tech industry as well. I used to do a lot of work for Newegg and Gigabyte. I was like, I don't want to do Chrome anymore. I'm going to switch over to Brave. And I did so. And it started off very innocently, where I was like, I have to sign into 5 different accounts just to rerun my games. This is not good. And much like most stressed millennials, I looked at an opportunity and said, well, I can't find enough third-party things to do this for me. I'm going to make it myself. And it turned into that, where I started to slowly understand really all of the needs that I had as a GM, and started to communicate with other pro GMs I've made friends with, and found out what we were all kind of missing, which is a platform that had everything without having to jump from an account to account. So yeah, I mean, we offer game discovery. You can list games. Was it player organization, system management, session management? We have what I think is really important, especially for people who are just dipping their toes into pro GMing, is we're building up our academy. We have essentially like a Skillshare Udemy kind of a video tutorial section of our site that teaches you about table safety, that comes with badging, GM specific tips, how to navigate the site, system specific rundowns and breakdowns. So we're trying to teach people how to feel comfortable with the system. If they ever feel like, I'm not sure if this is for me, we're trying to give them tools to do so. And then on top of that, we're also giving them other GM tools like campaign wikis. That's currently open. We just had a recent update to that. We have a transcription with a Discord bot to help you when it comes to note taking and summarization. We have built-in character sheets for those who want to keep everything in one central place. And we've been mentioning this for a while. We are currently building out a in-house VTT, so that way you don't have to bounce around places to visually show maps.
Very cool. The Academy content that you mentioned, is that something where you need to sign up as a pro GM to access it, or is it open on the website?
100% no. It is free to everyone. Don't quote me on that. I think you do need to make an account, but that counts are free. And then you can access everything, but everything is free.
Yeah, so you don't need to be on the hook for a game. You just need.
You don't need to be on the hook. Yeah, you can literally make a blank account if you want to and just access all the videos. It is free to access. When I was building Arcane Circle, me and my other co-founders, we were talking about if there was going to be a paywall behind it, if there was going to be like maybe a subscription, something. We do have a subscription for professional, like premium tools, like unlocking more wikis, unlocking more VTTs in the future. But when it came to the Academy, it was so important to me to ensure that there was a place where people can learn for free and just enjoy the fruits of professional GM's labors, that it would just be there.
I think that fits perfectly with what the hobby is. Like, this is inherently a hobby where ideally you start by learning for free.
I mean, the great thing about the TTRPG community is that we're always, guarantee, find one creator out there in the TTRPG industry, they're going to want you to learn a system. Someone is always here to help you. It is the only community who is literally like, it's not like the video game industry. It's not like the tech industry where there's like secret little things that if you really wish you could have known this in the beginning. The tabletop industry really is like, this is how you best build a character in D&D. Let me show you. You're playing Baldur's Gate that's adjacent to D&D. Here's how you make a super powerful monk. Are you a GM? Here's how you really kind of, pull a fast one on your players and make them really think, or a puzzle that makes them ponder. We're always helping. And I wanted the Academy to reflect that.
I love that. Cool. Well, you have answered my beginner questions perfectly. So we will move on to the folks who have already started pro GMing or maybe have been doing it for a bit and see if we can help them out as well. Do you have any advice just straight off the bat for folks in that position who kind of want to take their pro GMing to the next level?
Let's see. That's a great question. What advice can I give somebody who's already running pro GM games at that point? I would say refresh yourself with the basics. I think there very much is a lot where us as professional GMs, we're so boggled down with, we've been doing this for years that sometimes we forget the basics. We forget sometimes that players need check-ins. It goes a long way to ensure people are feeling okay with the story and with decisions. It's okay to slow things down. I think this is more table talk than what it is sort of promoting yourselves. But handling that first is slowing things down, ensuring that you have sort of more follow-ups with your players, ensure that everyone's feeling okay, and you guys have an established safety tool net there. When it comes to expanding your audience, that is where it requires a little bit more effort on people. It requires us to kind of come out of our shells. Networking is so important. Going to these conventions, going to these events and telling people that you run games for a living. People instinctively are going to be kind of interested. If you tell people you're a professional GM and you run games on Saturdays, Tuesdays, and Sundays, you're going to garner some attention and some interest. And then also playing the social game is kind of inherent with our society. You kind of have to, post something about it, talk about your games. What I always recommend to people, especially because I have a social media background, is find a moment in your game that was really fun and talk about it. Really showcase that there are some really incredible moments to be had at your table. And then at the end of the video go, and I have openings. Here are the tables that I'm running. There is a social game to it to expand your audience.
Yeah, and I'm sure you mentioned earlier that you've done streaming in the past, so I'm sure you've heard many times the whole you don't grow your streaming by streaming, you grow it by doing other things, and they carry over.
Short form content is key.
Yeah, I was kind of going to say do the same. Here's what you should do to gain a following in streaming. Apply to pro GMing, or are there things that are different that work?
100%. So there is this old adage I like to talk about when it comes to streaming. Back when I used to do that a lot for companies, is you are only discoverable when you are running something. So especially that's very apparent for live streaming. If you're doing Twitch, you're not discoverable unless you're actually live playing something. Now you can't be live 24/7 because you wish you could be discoverable 24/7, but it's not going to work that way. Same thing when it comes to GMing. You're really only going to kind of garner attention if there is some reviews, acolytes. There is, a game currently about to be ran at the moment, but you can't have games run every single hour. You'd stress yourself out. So it very much is garnering the highlights and showcasing them to social. It is kind of the best way to do so to sort of get attention. Short form content is key.
Having that video up is like having 1 minute of your stream constantly running.
Oh boy. Already I'm feeling nervous about that one.
Okay. Do you have any thoughts on keeping players engaged or coming back to your games once you've played with them once, or maybe for like a short adventure, that sort of thing?
Yeah, of course. There is this, it works. It does work. But when you are doing anything with customer service, because it is a profession. You are working with customers. You are working with with an audience, with a community. Is when you're doing customer service, there's a thing called retention, which is someone uses a service and a day later you get an email saying, how'd you like the service? Was it good? You're always trying to touch base with people that you played with. So I recommend generally when professional GMs do get people into their games, it's usually handled through a community app like Discord. I would recommend to, reach out to those individuals take that extra step. And it does kind of force you to get out of a bit of a comfortable spot of hopefully they liked me and I post another game and they join again. It's not always that way. Sometimes you do have to reach out and go, hey, I'm really happy you played with me yesterday, and I really liked your character. This was some really fun moments. Do some stars and wishes, and going, hey, I'm about to run a game next week. If you ever have the time, check it out. And it really takes a little bit of elbow grease just to sort of really incentivize or really kind of enforce that openness with players. It is a career.
Absolutely. And it's a skill that you can grow. A lot of people kind of feel like it is a personality trait, but it is something you can work on, of course. And in the same vein, I think, what you're describing, some people might have the gut reaction of like, oh, I don't want to be a salesperson. But the same interaction might be that the person had a blast, but they are self-conscious and they don't think that you want them back.
100%. And I always recommend people, because I feel the same way. There's a lot of imposter syndrome roaming around in this head where I'm like, even with Arcane Circle, I'm like, is it doing okay? I don't know. But yeah, there is something to be said about, you look at other creators, especially like content creators, and you go, why are they so massive? Why are they growing so much? It's because they did put on that salesman like mask. And I recommend to people who don't want to feel that way is keep it very open-ended. When you reach out to somebody, say, I'm running a game next week. You don't have to join. I'm not asking you to do so. Just look at it. And if it looks fun, think about it. Leave it very open-ended. Don't force anyone that, to do something they don't want to. Just let them know that you're working on things and let them know that you liked enjoying playing with them and that there's a spot for them if they want to join.
Awesome. Continuing with the theme of kind of evolving the way that you handle your pro GMing as you gain more experience, different GMs are going to charge different rates. Is there any benchmarks that you have in mind for when you should look at changing your rates or how you even determine them in the first place?
I think the industry accepted average is $15 to $20. I think that is, from what I've seen from other competitors as well as our own site's average, is 15 to 20 is kind of average.
Is that per session?
Per session.
Sure.
Yeah. So if you are looking to, like, if you're questioning yourself, like, what should I charge? Use that as your base. That is kind of the universal accepted amount. If you're looking to increase your cost, I would definitely look at the amount of seats that you're filling. There is such a thing of supply and demand. If people really, I'll say it this way, if people really want to be at your table and you post a game and it immediately fills up, people want to play with you. There is some value to that. That means the amount of time and effort and the experience that you're giving people is worth something. I know people are going to be concerned of like, what if I charge 25 and 5% of my audience drops out? The people who join in at 25, they kind of make up for the loss.
I was going to say, if you have enough customers that you're worried about that 5%, you've got enough customers.
Yeah, there's an economics behind it, but that doesn't mean you need to lose the people, because I also recognize that there are people who they're not in the financial states where they can supply extra amount. It's kind of why in Arcane Circle we're working to build a tiered system, because some GMs, and I've talked to people like Heather Sylvia, who is a GM for Worlds for All. Props to her. She gave us the idea and she told us to do this. She has the structure where you can offer a cheaper amount and a higher amount depending on how people's financial status. It doesn't give them any bonuses or extras, but it really just sort of incentivizes, come to my table. If you can't pay for it, we have a cheaper option. If you want to support other people, there's a more expensive option for you. But really look at supply and demand. If you see that people are starting to really fill up your tables, you can inform people you're going to be charging a little bit more, seeing that you can make this a career move. Be transparent.
Yeah, and I like that. It's another thing where it's just kind of mirrors other ways that the tabletop space handles things, where a lot of books or even like, crowdfunders will have like a community copy option where it's like, do you want to pay for yours and someone else's? Now we will open up one, free book or discounted book. And it's a very similar idea.
Oh goodness, what did she call it? I think she called it her grant level. Like she's offering like you would consider it like a grant amount, like you're covering the cost for someone else. I was like a sponsorship thing. And I was like, oh, that's a smart idea.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it.
So props to her. You're listening, Heather. Great idea.
Yeah, and the people who are picking that higher tier, like, generally people, if they're paying to get into a game, they want other people to have fun with the game too. And so if they can pitch in to help out, they're probably going to feel better about that than the medium option.
100%. Yes.
Cool. Let me think. Is there anything else that you want to talk about for pre-existing pro GMs, things that you want to point them towards or discuss?
Yes. I'm very lucky to know there's a pro GM, a good friend of mine, his name's Ron, and he runs 6 games a week, sometimes more. He is back when I was trying to make that sort of a full thing before I made Arcane Circle my full attention, that was my goal. I was like, man, whatever you're doing, you're incredible. We had a long, lengthy discussion about burnout. Anyone who's running that particular amount of games, even if you were kind of doing a copy paste situation where multiple parties are running in the same campaign in the same setting, but just sort of different worlds, there is still a lot of administration work. You kind of, okay, this guy's backstory, these are NPCs that know them. Here are the plot hooks for this one. Oh, they don't crisscross. Great. All right, I got to find. So there's a lot of work to be done in the back end.
In which one of my campaigns did they kill this NPC versus it's alive in the other ones?
And then there's like a split in the road. And you're like, well, now they're 2 different campaigns. Now I can't rely on the copy paste anymore. So yeah, burnout is something that everyone should just be aware of. If you do plan on making this sort of a full-time career, is find ways to, block out days. You don't do games on Sundays. That's your rest day. Or like me professionally, I do 2 paid games a week as well as a streamed content game a week. So three campaigns a week. I cut out the last week every month. I don't GM anytime on the last week of every month, just as a way for me to relax and sort of focus on other things. The rule I always tell my parties is IRL comes first, always. If you, the professional GM, are stressed out and you're having health problems, you're not feeling well, you're hitting a writer's block, then that's going to affect your games. And because this is a career, you need to find a way to protect yourself first. It is a strange balance to, financial incentives as well as your own professional health and IRL kind of experience. So try to find a place for both of them.
The time for yourself is don't take that as just like a mental health thing. You will literally perform better if you act this way. Like even if you don't care about your own well-being, you will just do a worse job if you're not kind of taking this time. That's something we ran into with playtesting in the past year. Was there was a line in Quinn's Quest where he said, I was doing all of this crazy prep, but I eventually realized the best prep for any session is to do whatever puts me in the best mood before they arrive. And I was like, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it really is. It's a really good way to put yourself in the mood.
Because if you're doing a bunch of logistic work and you're mad by the time the game starts, then probably not going to be the best session, even if you got all the details right. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about tools, and specifically tools that Arcane Circle provides that we may not have touched on yet. What kinds of tools and resources do you recommend the most for, say, aspiring pro GMs?
Through our platform?
Sure, through your platform or otherwise.
Sure. I'll say, not to throw shade, I'm not trying to, because I still have existed across the internet and used a numerous amount of ecosystems that I think a lot of them have value. But again, I'm repping green for Arcane Circle. I would say that obviously finding a tool that helps you organize when players do have to bow out, when there's days that you need to skip, having a player organizational system is important. It's something that when we first created Arcane Circle, it was part of our alpha stage of, we need a system that allows you to organize your players to ensure that if someone has to skip, there's an easy way to do so. Another thing that I think is really important is it's something that we, once again, really important to me, is learning about table safety using our academy. When you go through the steps of the tool safety or safety tools in our academy, you can actually earn a badge. And that showcases to other players that you've gone through the process of learning about each safety tool. I think we go through like 10 or 11 safety tools that are kind of the more notable ones. And not only that, there are quizzes at the end of each video to test that you're paying attention. It was very important for me to ensure that there was a way that you understood ways to protect yourself as well as your players and the table at large. there is a site called ttrpgsafetytools.net that is run by Laura Bryan Monk, and unfortunately, I'm missing her partner. But they have curated like almost every single TTRPG safety tool out there online, and I had a long 2.5 hour extensive talk about what we were trying to do, and they gave us their blessing, which was such a big grab for me. I was so happy to get it. So yeah, I would say that teaching yourself about safety, I think, is very important to me, especially for the tools at large that we offer. Keeping things organized is going to save you a lot of headaches. But yeah, I think in terms of tools, I'll put those two as sort of the highest.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I like what you said about kind of tying in the badges, where it's an incentive for the GMs to learn these things that are important to learn, or to at least review them if they already know that. But then it also makes the whole platform a little bit easier to kind of trust a listing, or find something you're comfortable with as a player. Because I've looked into potentially doing pro GMing before, and one of the things that kind of struck me was like, I can write whatever I want in this text box, but like I could lie, or I could just say something that doesn't even help but sounds good. It's like, how do we actually gauge things in some sort of objective way?
Yeah, that was actually one of the biggest gripes I've had with other ecosystems. Was I've had the same thought. It's so funny. I was like, I could just write down anything. I could just tell people that I've been doing GMing for 30 years and no one's going to call me out.
I am the lead DM on Critical Role.
Yeah. My uncle is Gary Gygax, and it's the whole Nintendo talk.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, my uncle works for Nintendo, but I wanted there to be something to showcase that there was work being put in. There was a discussion I saw online of, well, I have 0 reviews. How am I going to get people at my table? And my answer to that was, get yourself badged. Go through the process, get yourself badged. These people are going to come out with 5 reviews, and you're going to come out with 0. They don't have safety training, but you do. Now you've got some value.
Makes a ton of sense. Is there anything else you want to talk about that you feel like, and again, you're obviously not coming after these platforms, but you had a reason to make a new one, and it's good to express those ideas. Are there other things that you feel like Arcane Circle does uniquely well, or is the only one that does at all, that you want to talk about?
I'll say, because all of our founders are game masters. All of us. I mean, collectively, we have about over 45 years of experience between us three. We're kind of on the ground level. I've gone to conventions and talked to people about, hey, what are you looking for when it comes to professional GMing? Like, what would you wish you could see? And it's put us in this position of, I've learned that a lot of people want more attention. They want people to fill their tables. They want to, find that sort of stability. And so it's allowed me, using sort of, stressing my own kind of social media experience of what we do that no other looking for game site does, is people have seen it. I will literally reach out to somebody and go, hey, I like the way that you have your game presented. Are you fine if I promote this? And I will go through the arduous situation of creating a social post, posting on our social media, talking about it, sharing about it. I will sing people's praises just to get them attention. And unfortunately, not a lot of, especially bigger competitors, they don't do that. There's not a lot of personal touch to it. And I want to be in touch with the community. I want to ensure that I'm keeping myself grounded. And when there is a post that's going out, that I can remember that. Literally, we had a game, sort of calling back Heather. She posted a game about, I think it was called, I want to pull it up right now, but I think it's called like Leaves. Roots and Flowers. Roots and Flowers is the system that another one of our community members made.
Oh, cool.
So they made Roots and Flowers, and they got excited. They were like, why are you guys are showing my game? And I went, yeah, absolutely. You want to put your name on it? Let's do it. And so it's very much keeping things grounded. I love being on the ground floor.
Yeah, it's really cool. Just getting, like, obviously you're excited about creating things in the space, so getting to also help other people who are doing the same thing is very cool. And is that something that, obviously you mentioned that it's easier for a smaller company to do than a big company, but is that something that you kind of have plans to, make ways to continue that as Arcane Circle hopefully grows?
100%. So I know in the future when things start to grow, it gets a little bit more muddy, a little messier. I used to work for companies that were multi-billion, multi-million dollar companies, and I've seen how tangled a web can be when it comes to administration work. So we've already planned in the future. We already have like a long 4-year plan of what it'll look like when things start growing, what kind of milestones we hit. And regardless of how big we grow, there will always be a position, because if I'm not doing it, I want to get someone to help me do this. There will always be someone on the ground floor of, I like your game, let's promote it. We're doing a training video. Let's get content creators who don't get a lot of attention and give them the spotlight. It's kind of the biggest goal of mine, of just lifting up the community as much as I can.
And it makes perfect sense because it's both clearly a personal want, but also a business one. It's like if the people on your platform are doing better, then the platform's doing better. So it all works out together. All right, we're going to take a second to get to a couple of community questions, but I wanted to hit you with one last specific question before we move on. And this one might be a little bit trickier, but I think you said you have this 4-year plan, so I think you'll have an answer. Is there something that you think Arcane Circle is not doing well enough yet and has plans to improve on?
Yes. I think even if you ask me this question 10 years down the line, I'll always say yes. There's always things that I think that we can improve on. There's always feedback. There's always amazing ideas and collective kind of trajectories we can take. Right now, I mentioned before, we do have a built-in wiki. To me, I think it's an amazing journal tool. It does keep all of sort of your recap information all set. It connects with our Discord bot. It makes it easier to find kind of recaps and transcriptions. For me, though, it still requires a little bit of work. So that's actually kind of nice because I could tell people, hey, it's getting better, which is always kind of exciting for me to say. So yeah, I think that needs some attention that I'm really excited to do. In the 4 years, we have a sort of 4-year plan. We would love to provide an opportunity for indie and solo supplement creators, people who are making these custom systems, like, again, the sort of the Roots and Flowers individual who we talked about. I would love for them to have a platform to showcase their works and give them props and boosting them up. So that's something that we want to do in the future. No exact dates yet. We're still working on the VTT. That's my next goal.
Yes. And from what I can gather, it's a pretty tricky goal sometimes. So it makes sense that you need to focus on it.
I was very lucky. One of my great friends, one of my really good friends is Tom, the ex-CEO of Astral VTT. I actually was very lucky to have him I was doing an actual play channel, still am, and I had him as a guest star. He's currently sort of like an advisor right now, and he's sort of helping us out, giving us sort of feedback, showcasing where people pain points are on what we're trying to do. He runs a company called Overseer Studios, so go check him out. And yeah, he already had a lot of feedback and ideas when it came to VTT creation. So it kind of put us in a good trajectory of what we wanted to do.
Sweet. I like that answer. I like that in 10 years, you'll give the same answer with a different example. That's what we want.
100%. Always.
Cool. Let's go ahead and get to these couple of community questions. Saffron asks, how different can pro GM styles be from each other?
Oh, I mean, galaxies apart. I have a friend who runs games solely for the roleplay aspect, kind of more political, sort of interpersonal kind of discussions. So you can see people could focus on that particular type of gameplay. I have another friend who just wants to do level 20 PvP mashups, and I've participated in a few of those, and those are really fun. I'll say this: regardless of what type of style you think people want to play in, do something that you enjoy, and that will showcase in your game. If you are really comfortable in building battle maps where there are like small little hidden dangers and boons, build it, showcase it. Believe me, your excitement is going to show on the listing, and you'll find people, everyone has different tastes. You'll find people who want to play in those. If you want to play something a little bit more silly and funny, again, that's a play style that professional GMing can facilitate.
Very cool. We'll hit Saffron's second question as well. Do you feel that one needs to practice as a GM more first, or is it okay to develop as you pursue pro GM?
Ooh.
And obviously, that doesn't give us a baseline of where you are at to begin with, but
yeah,
the general philosophy.
I usually am in the camp of you should try it once. I think it is fair to players who are expecting a kind of curated sort of premium experience to have at least be with a GM who feels comfortable enough to run a story for their friends. I'm not discouraging first timers who are like, I'm jumping in the deep end and I want to do this right away. If you're coming out with all the confidence, bravado that that someone can be allotted, oh, then you were born for this. Go for it. You already have a plan in place, and I'm not going to stop you. But I would encourage people to run a game for their friends, run a game for some acquaintances, or maybe at a live action event, and kind of get their hands dirty a little bit to see if this is something they want to do. Yeah, just sort of get the feel of it. And once you're able to, if you could stump people with a puzzle, you're ready.
A puzzle that actually has an answer, though. You can't get around this.
100%.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, more practice is always good. Next up, we have two questions that I think kind of run into one, so we'll cover it together. Do you mostly run online or in person? And is there anything important about building a client base for specifically in-person games?
Yes. So for me personally, I run most of my games digitally. I am doing Arcane Circle full time, doing paid games on the side, doing content on the side, and I am a full time parent, sort of the anchor parent. So I take care of my little human. So I am not allotted the accessibility to go to constant, game shops and running games for people. That'd be really fun, but I don't have the time. So a lot of my games are run digitally, and that's where most of my experience has come. Does not mean that I've had the joy of running games at a physical location numerous times, and that's always been fun. But to the second part of the question of, do you need to build a clientele? Not really. I would say find a local store, go, sign up for a local, like a convention or an event. Most smaller conventions will provide you like free admission for running games or running tables. So that's a great way to be like, I get to engage with the community and it doesn't have to cost me anything. And just show up. I'm very much, that's a sort of an experience I'm learning now as first time kind of, startup with Arcane Circle, is getting involved with the community is enough to sort of get their attention. So you can actually build up your clientele even if you have nothing. Just show up, make yourself known, be grateful, and be acceptable for feedback, and slowly people will start recognizing you.
Awesome. Thank you for giving us your time, Mike. Now is your last chance for any spare thoughts or considerations before we let you go. Does anything come to mind?
There's this quote I like saying, and I don't know if I grabbed it for somebody or it just was an idea that popped in my head. But for those who are kind of unsure if they want to step in behind the GM screen, I'll tell you this much, is that regardless of the game that you run, whether it is Strahd, for people run Strahd for millions of times, regardless if it is something that has been run a billion times, is that nobody here can run a game like you can. No one can tell a story like you can. So for those who are still unsure, give it a try. Start with a little short one shot, handle 2 things, and that's it. But you will experience that GMing is such a wonderful experience, and you deserve to have your stories heard.
100% agree. Great. Could you remind us where we can find you in your work?
Oh, wonderful. Obviously you can always go to arcanecircle.games. That is, our home flagship space. In addition to that, you can also find me Arcane Circle Games, Arcane Circle, all those tags on social. You can find us on Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. I'm also the main GM for Arcane Focus D&D. Yes, both have Arcane in the name. I wasn't that creative when I made the company.
You got to type.
I got to type. But Arcane Focus D&D, we do a lot of YouTube streams. We do a lot of pre-recorded content. If you ever want to see like long form or short form videos, one shots, that's where I do a lot of produced stuff. So yeah, you can find me at either.
Perfect. Now you all know where to follow up with Mike's work if you so desire. And while you've got that tab open, you may as well come and follow the community putting on the talk. That would be TTRPG Rising Tide on all social medias. And of course, if you gained anything from this chat, you could help other folks like yourself by spreading the word. The Rising Tide Discord community is a massive resource and network for TTRPG creatives by creatives. And as the certified substitute teacher of the day, I can say that my own tabletop career would be a lot more confusing without it. I have been Clay Powell, lead designer of Nat2 Press. You can find us on all socials at NATTWO Press, or just little old me specifically at Kenku Court. Thank you all for joining another RT Talks. You can catch the next one in June right here in the Rising Tide Discord server. Goodbye, y'all.